We are back.
Hello again.
Here we are, back on tour without going anywhere.
It's a brand new world, friends. But I'm really glad Dead and Company's back to work, man. I enjoyed the hiatus, but I'm excited for what's coming next, man. Those guys are on a roll when they abandoned us a couple of weeks ago.
And tonight they open things up again in the beautiful city of Charlotte, North Carolina. And really looking forward to seeing what they've cooked up, if they've introduced any new songs in the interim or brought back some old ones or whatever. But in the meantime, we are here to schmooze for a bit. While we wait for the band to come on, we've been told there's been no stage cue yet, so we could be with you for a little bit. But let us reintroduce ourselves, if your memory is that short. I'm Gary Lambert, and over there is DeadHead Gans.
That's
And
me.
this is the prelude to the show, and then it's the prelude to the halftime show called Dead Air with Lambert and Gans, which we'll be doing. And we're going to have a very good friend, wonderful musician, old pal, Jeff Mattson, joining us in the second half. So, in halftime. So we look forward to that.
Yeah, and we're also we're part of our mission here is to get you excited about the music that's about to happen and the video live stream that is available from nugs.net. If you're watching this free preview on the Nugsnet channel of YouTube or Facebook, please go to livedead.co and look at all the available options for streaming the live shows in HD or 4K video, and also the many options for downloading the audio and keeping it permanently in your collections, and also a newish thing, the streaming subscription service that Nugsnet is now offering. So livedead.co is the place to go to convert this free sample into a paid stream. And by the way, you can sign up for the entire leg of the tour and just get a season pass for the whole thing and not have to sweat signing up for the individual shows as well.
Right. I think we're going to do the same. Sign up for the rest of the tour. In fact, we are just getting started. There was a break of a little over 3 weeks. Things started a little later than expected because of some cancellations, including the show at Jazz Fest, which was going to happen this past weekend. So the band decided to start in Charlotte, but they are adding a couple of shows at Red Rocks. So we're going to wind up with the same number of shows for the rest of the tour. I think there's 13 of them left through Halloween at the Hollywood Bowl. And we look forward to it. And in the meantime, we've got a lot of good stuff to talk about. We always encourage you to support the good causes like the Rex Foundation and Headcount. And David, I think there's another one we're going to be talking about this evening as well.
There is. I have a brand new campaign that I want to talk to all of you about. Yesterday, I launched a fundraising campaign for Robin Sylvester, the bass player formerly of Rat Dog. An amazing human being, was a recording engineer in England back in the 70s, moved out here to the West Coast and has been a mainstay of the music scene out here for years. He was the first bass player in Vince Welnick's Missing Man formation. He was Rat Dog's bass player for many years. I've had the tremendous privilege of recording and performing with him so many times in the last 20 years. And Robin has had chronic illness for a really long time. He's been on the kidney donor recipient list for many, many years, and he's had a lot of health setbacks this current year, and he requires right now 24-hour care. So I am rattling my tin cup and collecting funds for Robin. And since we launched this yesterday, we've already collected $20,000 and we need a whole lot more. My goal here is to raise $100,000 because Robin needs 24-hour care for the several months to come. And right here on your screen is the shortcut to make a donation. PayPal.me/TrueFundDonations is the place to go to send money, which will go directly to Robin. Every cent that comes into that account will be passed along to Robin as soon as possible. You can find out more about it on my blog. If you go to cloudsurfing.gdhour.com, on the very top, you'll find a link to the background on this that explains Robin's chronic health problems and his current needs. But anybody who's ever seen Rat Dog, in the last like 10, 15 years of Rat Dog, you saw this amazing dude, this big, tall, lanky Englishman playing amazing bass. Robin is just a sweet guy to hang out with, a lovely human being. And I really hope that all of you will dig down deep and send a few bucks to help him get through this current health crisis. Thank you all so much.
Indeed. Thank you, David, for initiating this. And, this also speaks to the generosity of Deadheads, which is legendary. Of course, all of you have been supporting the Rex Foundation for nearly 4 decades now and giving to all kinds of good causes. And, one of the things that's really come out in the past couple of years, something we've known for a long time, but maybe the general public didn't, is that musicians, by nature of their employment, their kind of spotty employment sometimes, are very often extremely under-resourced when it comes to access to medical care, insurance, all of that. And there have been initiatives before, wonderful organizations like the Rex Foundation establishing the Rex Roadie Fund and Backline.care and so many others, Sweet Relief. We love these organizations, but here we have a completely grassroots operation going on. One friend and one fan reaching out to many fans. And of course, we know that not all Deadheads are all that well to do, but any little bit helps. And we're amazed at how generous people are. Even if they don't have a whole lot of money, they scrape up some pocket change. They sell some grilled cheeses in the parking lot. They do whatever they can and kick down something to a good cause. And then, of course, there are very prosperous Deadheads as well. And I'm looking at you right now. And you can reach a little deep.
From several of those. And I want to mention John Mayer himself. I guess he was listening to Tales from the Golden Road yesterday because I saw a donation come in from John shortly after we made the announcement on Tales yesterday. So John Mayer, thank you personally for your direct contribution to this as well.
Fantastic. I did a little outreach today. So
good.
We're looking forward to, I've $20,000 in the short span since this thing started is fantastic. We want to keep it going. Maybe by the time we do Tales from the Golden Road next Sunday, we'll be just about there, but we want to keep it going. We'll be telling you about this during the breaks and the lead ups to the shows this week as well. So thank you to all of you who will donate or already have donated. And we love you, Robin.
Yes, indeed. We certainly do. What else do we need to talk about? Again, we're offering a free sample. You're going to get the first song of the Dead and Company show for free on YouTube and Facebook. The idea being, if you just fall in love with the music that you hear, you will want to convert it to a paid stream and watch the rest of the show. If you make that decision, like at the set break, we're going to do this again during the break and talk with Jeff Mattson, and then you'll hear the beginning of set 2 also on the free stream. This is the policy here. They offer up the first song of each set as a free sample to entice you in. If you like what you see and hear, please visit livedead.co and find out what all the options are. You can download they have, I think, every Dead and Company show going back to 2016 in their library for downloading and streaming and stuff. And of course, there's the forward motion of the upcoming tour. As Gary said, there are 13 more shows in this month. So there's a season pass available so you can get them all. And if you decide to sign up, say, tomorrow for the season pass, you can still go back. Every one of these streaming licenses, once you start it, you have 48 hours to watch it as many times as you like. So once you've clicked on it and you start rolling, you got 2 days to watch it. But every one of the shows that has happened so far is available to you as part of a package from livedead.co.
Fantastic. And I'll tell you, these shows have definitely been worth revisiting. That window of 48 hours has come in handy because I've gone back. I'm not a guy who's been exactly deprived of Grateful Dead music for the last 50 several years, but having these shows in my living room and being able to pick and choose favorite moments and go and revisit them, and of course see the beautiful camera work revealing the interaction between the musicians in a way that you're not going to see, up on the lawn in some shed somewhere. You get a closer view even than some of the people right on the rail. You get to see the great facial expressions that Jeff and John are throwing at each other. That's become somewhat legendary on this tour, the interplay between those two. But it's the energy flowing all over the stage is just terrific. And those of you who like to fixate on the players' hands, you can do that and get some cheap guitar lessons. It's really been a fantastic thing to check out, and an object lesson in ensemble improvisation. I'm really, really digging it.
I completely agree. As a musician, I thoroughly enjoy the up-close shots we get of the musicians, and really you can almost make out what brand of fly swatter Mickey is playing at that one spot in the show.
That's true. I'm surprised they haven't put Ain't No Bugs on Me in the repertoire with Mickey wielding those mean fly swatters. Yeah.
And that was some kind of dad joke right there. And we don't even have kids.
That's right. It's for someone else's kids. Anyway, so we're waiting for the band to take the stage. We are told it's imminent, not necessarily immediate, but coming up pretty soon. They've had a little time off, which means they will be well rested and I think eager to get back to it. There have been very little moments where they've shown any fatigue or any rust on this tour. And I think the 3 weeks off probably did them some good. And we'll see what they have up their sleeves. Go ahead.
I was just going to change the subject and suggest that since we have a couple more minutes, we might remind people that one of our big causes over here is head count. We are big proponents of everybody voting. Everybody in a democracy should take part and make their voice heard. And without getting into big, deep, long discussions about whether it's worth doing or not, take my word for it, it's worth doing. I've been voting. I have not missed an election since November of 1972. It is of huge importance, and I read the voter pamphlets. I even look at the qualifications of school board candidates because, hey, that's where our kids find out how the world works. So we want to make sure that the school boards are also populated with responsible people that we think are doing a good job. So I pay attention to all my civic responsibilities from dog catcher on up to President of the United States. And the reason we support Headcount is that Headcount is particularly oriented toward our hippie jam band dance show culture. And you can sign up with Headcount and you can go to festivals for free if you want to work a table and sign voters up and stuff like that. So we're interested in getting you to participate in Headcount, maybe as a volunteer, and help get your neighbors involved as well. But if you're not interested in any of that, we would at least beg you to register, pay attention, and vote. It really, really does matter.
Yeah, every little election, the local elections determine how your state will be redistricted and who will have free and fair access to the ballot. And that is a big part of Headcount's mission, too, is seeing that election laws are equitably drawn so that, we don't go back to the days before the Voting Rights Act of 1965. We're still arguing about voting rights in Congress, and that's just intolerable. So let's hope that that democracy prevails, and Headcount is one of the frontline organizations trying to see that happens.
Indeed. We are now hoping that the band will take the stage soon because we've reached that blithering portion of our show and we haven't really got anything new and interesting to say, so we're just saying stuff.
Yeah, although, we can always say, hey, how about that new Grateful Dead box set?
That's right.
The St. Louis one. Our friends at Rhino just keep on hitting it out of the park and coming up with new angles. Oop, lights are down. We'll talk about that some other time.
All right, we'll see you at break time, everybody.
Here we are.
That went well.
Indeed, it did. I realized how ideal this way of experiencing this music is for someone my age, because there I was enjoying this exquisite music and eating soup at the same time. So you can't get that at the venue, I don't think.
I had to separate myself from that amazing jam to come upstairs and get ready to go online. And I got a text from my buddy Will Jarrell, who lives out in Mount Airy, North Carolina, just going, "Holy shit!" Which I think sums up the response to that first set pretty well. We heard Good Times, Cassidy, Tennessee Jed, It Must Have Been the Roses, Mr. Charlie, Looks Like Rain, and oh my God, what a bird song.
Oh, yeah. They almost, well, Good Times and Must Have Been the Roses sort of spoil the streak, but every other song in that set debuted on an album in 1972.
That's a
How
weird
about that for
statistic.
Arcane?
Go figure.
Cassidy and Looks Like Rain from Bobby's first solo album, Tennessee Jed from Europe 72, Mr. Charlie from Europe 72, Birdsong from Garcia. Heck of a year to be mining.
For sure. So, friends, that was Dead and Company first set. You might be looking at this as a free preview of set 2 of tonight's Dead and Company show over on YouTube or Facebook. If that is what you're doing, we're about to have a conversation with our friend Jeff Mattson. But one of the reasons we're doing this is to persuade you to go over to livedead.co and buy the whole show on an amazingly high quality video stream. If you're looking at this now, you stay tuned. You'll get the first song of the second set for free. But if you already saw some of the first set, you know how good this band is, and they want you to go over to livedead.co and order the stream. You can also order a season pass for the entire rest of the October tour and see all that stuff on demand in HD and or 4K. And there's also a huge variety of audio files available for you to download and keep permanently at livedead.co.
Fantastic. And also, there's now a deal between Nugs.net and SiriusXM Radio, our employers, every Sunday on Tales from the Golden Road. There's SiriusXM offers something called a Platinum VIP package, which includes all of SiriusXM's countless number of channels with all kinds of music, public affairs, sports, everything you could ever want in radio. And they also have content from Nugs.net. So everybody wins.
Yeah. Well, let's bring our guest in. We've got some heavy schmoozing to do. Tonight, we're going to be joined by our dear friend, Jeff Mattson, a damn fine guitarist currently serving as the lead guitarist of Dark Star Orchestra. But he's got a very, very long history in this music, and he's played with Phil and friends a couple times, and of course, was with the Zen Tricksters for decades. Jeff, welcome.
Hey, good to be here. There he is.
Good to have you.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
You bet. How'd you like that set?
Oh, man. Beautiful. Beautiful. That bird song particularly, just so psychedelic and relaxed and went some great places.
Indeed.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the bird song has been a frequent song of the night on this tour so far. There have been 3 or 4 absolutely magnificent deep dive kind of bird songs. And this particular lineup, Oteil and Jeff and John find new places in these jams and new places in this music. And of course, Bobby never sits still. He's not the same guitarist he was in 1967 or 72 or 75. He just keeps finding new angles, and the drummers are sounding great together. So they keep bringing out these new aspects to the music.
Yeah, that was more akin almost to a Dark Star than what we normally associate with birdsong back in the Grateful Dead days. Yeah.
Yep.
It always had that potential. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I like the bird songs that opened up and went all the way outside like that. So you think this kid on lead guitar is doing okay, huh?
Yeah, he's doing a good job. He gets it.
Yeah, he's got a future.
He's got a future. Absolutely.
Jeff, it occurs to me that you have been playing Grateful Dead music longer than half of Dead and Company, and almost as long as some of the original guys from the Grateful Dead, because you started playing this music for fun, and then in bands way back in the 70s.
It actually dawned on me yesterday that I'm coming up on 50 years that I've been playing Bertha in bands.
Yeah.
That's a lot of anymores, you know.
Sure is, yeah. So
and yet she keeps coming around.
Anymores.
Yeah.
Times 5,000 versions of Bertha. Yeah. A long time.
So we were among that generation of kids that were playing guitars, and then along came this music that was just so interesting and so compelling, and we started looking for other like-minded people to play it with. And you got on that pretty early on, right? You've been doing this, as you just said, about 50 years now.
Well, yeah, I mean, professionally, 45 years or something like that, maybe a little less. I don't know. It starts to fade into the mists of time after a while. But Zen Troopers alone, from the days when we were the volunteers, I think we're like at 42 years now. So that's wow. And that was a full time. That's been was a full time job until I got in Dark Star.
But the thing about volunteers, and that's the generation, our generation of musicians sort of came up. It wasn't about so much just playing Grateful Dead songs and playing like the Grateful Dead, but doing what the Grateful Dead did, which was taking a bunch of great songs from all over the place, adding a bunch of our own songs, and then stringing them together with jams that sounded like us, not like them, right? I mean, that's kind of like, well, we just lost George Frayne too, Commander Cody, who in his band was another one exactly like that, kind of the bar band ethos writ large, and swirling in a lot of original music with it as well, right?
They covered a lot of ground, the Lost Planet Airmen. Yeah, what a great band. Oh, man. It's hard to see George go. I had the honor to play with him one time. I'll never forget that. We just sat in with the Zen Tricksters, and there was what we were doing back the seeds, what do we call it? Down the seeds and stems again. Yeah. And he got that line about, oh, my dog died the other day and left me quite alone. And he pulled out his wallet and he started going through his wallet. And Tommy Sacosta thought, what is he going to do? Like start cutting lines up on the piano or something? He pulled out a picture of his dog and showed the audience. My dog died the other day. Here we go.
That's George.
Yeah.
So what was it about this Grateful Dead music that was so compelling, and why do we seek the company of other people to have this musical conversation with?
Well, for me, I grew up. My dad was a jazz musician, so I grew up listening to jazz my whole early life. So improvising just seemed the most natural thing in the world to me. I heard my father playing all the time, and so as of course I got into the Beatles like everybody else, but as soon as I discovered these bands that were jamming, it took me right there. And then the Dead were the best of the wall, and still are.
Yeah, so it seems. Being in a so-called cover band or a so-called tribute band is different with Grateful Dead music than with any other music. I mean, you go to see a Doors tribute band, and it's strict imitation right down to the leather pants of this band that had a fairly short career, and they play the arrangements exactly. When you're covering the Grateful Dead, you have the possibility to cover every era of the Grateful Dead, which was like a dozen different bands in terms of the styles they were pursuing, the instrument tones, and all that. So Dark Star has the luxury of, being a lot of bands in one.
But but you also have the obligation. You have to do all the lame songs too.
Hey,
I like them all. I mean, some better than others, but they're all fun to play. Really, even ones that I didn't necessarily like to hear as much. were fun to play, or more fun to play. You know.
Right. And the ones that were deemed universally lame didn't last in the repertoire that long, so they don't come up in your rotation all that often.
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit that we don't really play. I don't think we've ever played a show that passed maybe 93, because there tends to be some songs in there that nobody really wants to look at. So,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Really?
yeah, just the way it is, you know.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we'll get
Well,
to the point.
I think by the Dead's own estimation, those songs didn't pass muster either, because they had fairly short lifespans within the Dead, and they didn't turn up in the repertoires of any of the post-Dead bands. But some of those songs also found their feet in the post-Dead bands. You know, Rat Dog started playing Carina really well. You know,
Yeah.
and you know, some of the songs that the Dead never quite got the hang of because it was in the waning years have kind of been redeemed in some ways by the latter day bands.
Yeah, we do Carina, and we decided to take a note from Rat Dog, and we kind of came up with our own arrangement of it. I mean, it certainly, you know, isn't too far off from the song or anything like that. But rather than you know, trying to copy those not quite hitting it Grateful Dead versions, we came up with.
You know that song began in most performances with a recording. Bob Bralove told me the story of that song. That it was there was a particular night when the Space Jam was working really well, and Weir came over and said, "Save that. We're going to need that." And a recording from that particular Space Jam became this thing that was played at the beginning of Carina. And they would play along with this tape for a little while until Bobby signaled Bralove to drop the tape. So then they would be playing it live. It's a very interesting way to start a piece of music in a live band.
Well,
now, you guys don't have the luxury of having that tape, do you?
we don't have that tape. but you know, there's precedent for that. If you think of like the Who doing like Bob O'Reilly and Won't Get Fooled Again, they did the same thing. Yeah.
Joe, now that you mention it, Joe Walsh had a piece of music that he did in Life's Been Good, that weird thing in the middle of Life's Been Good.
Oh, yeah.
He had that. I remember I went and interviewed him on the road in 1982, and they had a tape recorder set up in the back of the stage to play that piece of tape during Life's Been Good. So I know there are precedents for playing along with recordings, but it's still kind of a weird thing.
Yeah. You wouldn't think the Grateful Dead, that was kind of pushing the envelope for them at the time. Yeah. But we do, you know, we do all the, you know, the Garcia, his last, whatever, 4 or 5 tunes there. You know, there's so many roads and Days Between and Liberty and Justice for All. No,
Lazy River Road, perhaps.
Yeah. All those songs.
Just Childhood Zen doesn't come up a lot in your repertoire, huh?
No, and I like that song. I wouldn't mind doing it.
Yeah.
It's a pretty song. I like that one they did when they played the acoustic, you know, the first Phil and Friends show with Vince and Jerry and Bob. They did an acoustic, nice version.
Yeah, that was a pretty one.
Gary and I were there that night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what else is new?
Well, you know, I've actually been very lucky that I've done quite a bit of playing. We've DSO. We've been doing like things where instead of being on tour, we've been flying in these surgical strikes and playing like a Friday, Saturday in different places. So the downside of that is I've been on 30 flights or something like that in the list. So,
oh man.
I got a lot of sky miles at Delta, let's put it like that. But we're on a little break right now. We're coming back. We're playing the Capitol in Portchester Friday, Saturday, 11th, November 12th and 13th. And then we're going down to Georgia and Florida at the end of November and beginning of December. And we're actually going to do a little tour again.
You
on
guys
the
got
bus.
to play Red Rocks. You got to sort of reenact the Grateful Dead at Red Rocks. That must have been quite a feeling.
Yeah, we played there 3 times now. There's nothing like that. That's what a wonderful place. I never dreamed that we'd be playing there, especially like you say, a Grateful Dead tribute band. But what a joy! The funny thing I like to say is that the first time we played there, we sold out, which was miraculous, and so that's like 9,000 or something like that. And the Beatles played there, and it was the only show on their tour they didn't sell out. They only sold like 7. So I said, "Oh, we sold more than the Beatles."
That's great. I remember running into Rob Eaton the day after you played Red Rocks. The Dead were playing Boulder, I think. I mean, Dead and Company were playing Boulder, and Rob was just over the moon having just played Red Rocks. As a lifelong Deadhead, that's like, finding yourself in center field with the Yankees, as a little leaguer or something.
Right. And what's even more absurd, the second time we played there, we had Hot Tuna open for us. It's kind of obscene,
Take the win, buddy.
Probably the way the Dead felt when Miles Davis was opening for them,
Exactly. That had to be terrifying.
So what's in the plans for? I mean, you said you're playing the Cap. What are some of these other hit and run shows DSO is going to do before you take to the road in earnest again?
I don't know that I can say. I think they're just nailing them down now. But like I say, we'll be in Atlanta and then a whole run in Florida at the end of November and beginning of December. Also, I'm getting to play with. We're doing a Zen Trickster show. Is it next weekend? On October 22nd, right here on Long Island, at the Landmark Theater on Main Street in Port Washington. So we only get to play with Zen Tricksters a couple of times a year, and of course we didn't. It's been at least a year with the pandemic since we played, so that should be a lot of fun.
Tommy's been playing with that English Town project, right? That looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah,
is Cliff part of that too?
Yeah, Cliff and Dave Diamond and
great.
Mike Falzerano.
Yeah, you got a bunch of great bandmates, man. Your musical mates are good people.
Yeah, really good people. And I can't wait to play with them.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of good times with you, David, playing together over the years.
That's for sure. You remember that we were in San Diego on election night 2000? The night that the election wasn't decided?
Oh,
how weird that was.
Like Winston's or something like that. Does that ring a bell?
I forget which place it was. But we were in San Diego on election night 2000. It was so freaking weird.
I didn't even realize I was born then, but
Yes, Jeff, you're older than you think.
It's the way to be.
Yeah. So Jeff, what was it like in the Wild West days of being a burgeoning Grateful Dead, tribute band or band that concentrated on the Dead's material? I mean, when the Zen Tricksters started or volunteered before that, there was not a Grateful Dead cover band on every street corner as there is now. How did you go about acquiring an audience? I mean, how did they find you? How did you find them?
Well, that's the thing that was weird. I mean, the Grateful Dead couldn't have been further from the Gestalt at the time. I'm talking about the late 70s, early 80s when we got started, and the new wave and the punk thing was going strong, and video clubs were coming in, and we were just this guitar solos. What is that? Kind of a thing. But as you know, the New York area is just jammed full of Deadheads. So once the word got around that there was a band doing it and doing it pretty well, people came out, and it was like a movable feast. People came, in the scene supported, we would play like 5 nights a week, just on Long Island at first. And I made a living right from the beginning. It was amazing. I've been very lucky that way.
While you were talking, it occurred to me it would be really interesting to see some band try to do a combination, do Grateful Dead songs in the style of all those skinny tie bands from the late 80s, late 70s. How much fun it would be to see Joe Jackson's band doing Grateful Dead songs.
I know the guitar player in this band. I could probably.
Oh, cool. When I saw Joe Jackson, he didn't have a guitar player. It was the Night and Day tour.
Oh, wow. That's going back a few years.
Yeah. Anyway, carry on.
It's like every other kind of interpretation of the Dead at this point. There's your bluegrass and your hard rock version. Why not a new wave version?
Yeah. It's interesting in that, the Grateful Dead sort of outlived being unfashionable. And, they, and then all these people who emerged in the punk era started sort of, first sheepishly and then proudly proclaim, their deadheadness, from Elvis Costello to Yo La Tengo to, the Dead are sort of like godparents of the indie rock scene in a lot of ways. And because not just because of their music, but because of the way they conducted their business and interact with their fans. So, we all feel kind of vindicated now.
Yeah, you have bands like Metallica and Pearl Jam that sort of use the Dead's business model. They base their thing on that. But
the whole industry has come around to that. Nobody makes money on records anymore. They have to go out and tour, and that was the Grateful Dead's model all along. Imagine that.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you wait long enough, everything comes back in style again.
Right.
But where have the Dead ever really in style? Maybe for like 15 minutes in the 60s or something like that.
Could be.
It's always been like, as you guys know, like in the 70s, the Dead was still kind of like almost a secret society. The whole DeadHead thing, it wasn't addressed that much in on the news and in popular culture. We just kind of went about. We did our thing. We did our shows and had nice big audiences, but kind of off the radar.
And then in the 80s, it got visible.
Yeah.
Starting in 85 was the 20th anniversary, and they started getting press. It was right. Dennis McNally had been hired as the publicist, so they actually had somebody managing all that stuff. So the camera crews descended, and they had somebody making sure that they saw interesting stuff. But a lot of the camera crews didn't get as far as the stage. They saw so much weird shit in the parking lot that they didn't bother checking out the music, and that started attracting kind of an unfortunate sort of attention to it. Whereas us, we stuck with the music. We put our heads down and played the music and featured the music and concentrated on the music and tried to get more people interested in playing that kind of music.
Yeah. It was always about the music to me. I mean, I certainly, I enjoyed the scene, but when I went to a show, I was hyper focused on the stage and what was going on up there. And, I was the nerdy guy going like, oh, Jerry's B string is out of tune. And, he played that chord on the 3rd fret instead of the 3rd, that kind of thing. Just because of my interest in playing guitar and playing that kind of music, everything else went away. And it was just the music. For me.
Yeah. And this is music that it rewards just about any level of engagement you care to give to it. It's, that's how you got the hall dancing scene. People didn't even need to see the band. They wanted enough elbow room to twirl,
right.
and there were people who were there for more of a social experience. And there were people who, as we were hyper focused on the music, people who needed to be on the rail, people who didn't mind being up on the lawn, and so you kind of designed your own attachment to the Grateful Dead, and that was is a really malleable thing, and I love that.
Yeah.
I should interrupt briefly here to remind people that if you're watching this free preview of set 2 of the Dead and Company show on Nugsnet or Facebook, you could go to livedead.co and convert it to a paid viewing so you can watch the entire rest of the show and then go back and watch set 1 as well in super high quality video, 4K and HD video. LiveDead.co. You can also sign up to subscribe to audio downloads. You can subscribe to the nugs.net streaming service now and stuff like that. But part of what we're doing here is a free preview to get you interested in going to livedead.co to become a paying customer of nugs.net. And that's the end of that interruption. And back to now talking with Jeff.
Well,
Yeah,
let me just say that while we extol the beautiful 4K video, let's not neglect the audio, because Derek Featherstone has been doing fantastic mixes, and you get to hear the subtleties in this music through this medium. No wonder John Mayer's wearing headphones. He wants to listen to this band too, you know?
Yeah, I noticed there was there's a real elegance to what they're doing, where you really feel like everybody's listening to everybody and hearing them, because there's so much reactive stuff going on. So pleasing to hear, because even in the older times, it was harder to hear what was going on so clearly as they do now, I think. But I think it's the thing of also that they're really listening, and it really makes a difference. There's a wonderful interaction going on. It's so nice, clean sound, and a lot of space, and wow, really impressed.
Yeah, that space is a really good thing. I was just in a conversation about making this kind of music online, and one of the most important things about this music is knowing when not to play, and leaving spaces between your notes is one of that's why it's this more than human thing, this gestalt creature. It's everybody playing a little part of it. I call this spontaneous midair architecture. Everybody's putting up a line or a stroke or a piece of wood here, and when you stand back from it and look at what everybody's doing, it's a beautiful structure. And I love that thing about it, of everybody participating in this generous way with each other and listening as much as they play.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even going to go there, but I think in some of the latter days of the Grateful Dead, there wasn't as much listening going on. I heard some horrible things about some of their individuals' monitor mixes where they didn't have some people in them. I mean, that's where someone say they didn't have Vince in their monitor mix or something like that. I mean, that such disrespect, really. I mean, you're playing this music together, you should be hearing everybody. And if you have a problem with what they're playing, that needs to be addressed off stage.
Yeah. Well, this band is delivering. I think Gary has often said that he thinks Jeff Clementi might be the single most skilled musician to ever play this music, and I think there may be some truth to that, and an inspired son of a bitch to boot.
Yes, and what a lovely man too. I mean, I had the pleasure of playing with him a few times, where he subbed with Dark Star, and instant rapport.
Nice.
Yeah.
One time he filled in for Baracco, obviously. Another time he filled in for Baracco played bass, and so Jeff played keyboard.
I remember that. Yeah,
I've seen Rob play bass a few times. Yeah, nice. Yeah. What fun.
You bass with Rat Dog before Robin was in the band.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Amazing.
That's right. You played with Phil and Friends a couple of times too. You want to tell us about that?
Well, it's coming up on. It was right around this time in 1999. We played 3 shows at the Warfield with John Molo and Steve Kimmock and Bobby Strickland on sax, and me and Rob Baracco. And that was a lot of fun. We back then, we rehearsed for about a week before those shows, and played 3 completely different shows. I don't think that the bands have the luxury of having that much rehearsal anymore. So, but it was a lot of fun because we got to really delve in deep. And then Phil sat in with Darkstar a few times, and then I played with Phil and friends again at Terrapin several years ago. It was a lot of fun. And
nice. Phil at 81 is just starting another run at the Capitol Theater tonight. 9 shows spread out over October. An amazing guy, still having the appetite for doing this stuff and playing as he did with you guys with different lineups. He's doing 3 clusters of 3 shows each with a different lineup of musicians. It's ambitious, and they probably won't repeat a lot of songs either.
Yeah, Barack was there tonight with the Q.
That's right.
Oh, very good. Right. That's Morin and Herring and wow.
Tom Hall.
Yeah,
a great lineup that was.
Yeah, I'll be popping in to see them this week, I think, on our night off. So I'll report back.
Yeah.
So
Jeff, we're told that most of the band is on stage. The way this works is we just get the word "lights" appears on our chat feed here, and then we just say goodbye. So if we cut you off in mid-sentence, forgive our rudeness, but it's that inconsiderate band wants to start playing again.
Yeah, I mean, I think people would rather hear the band than me talk anyway.
we all know that that's our job here, is to just fill up the space between the band and playing. I want to remind people, we talked about this at the beginning of the show. I'm doing a little fundraiser for Robin Sylvester, the bassist of Rat Dog, who's having very serious health problems and requires 24-hour care these days. And I'm trying to raise $100,000 for him. I don't want to. Oh, look! I didn't think Jacob was going to be around to put that up, but there you go. You can make a contribution directly at that. Every cent that comes into PayPal.me/TrueFundDonations is being passed along to Robin, and this campaign has been up for a little over 24 hours, and it's already raised $20,000. Any amount that you can contribute is really appreciated. I'm hoping to get. We need like 20,000 people to give $5 each, or 10,000 people to give $10 each, that kind of thing. So every small amount that you can give will go toward a huge total. And if the collective comes through with the generosity that we always see here, that'll be a great thing. So thank you for paying attention to that. Robin is a wonderful guy. You can go to my blog, cloudsurfing.gdhour.com, and you'll find a link to the story that explains the background. Robin has had chronic health problems for many years, but they've come to a crisis this year, which is why I'm passing the hat for him right now. Anyway, back to Jeff Mattson now.
Yeah, I guess we're going to start winding things down, Jeff. Since this is going to be abrupt, I just want to thank you for being here. For one thing, it's always a pleasure to talk about this stuff with you.
Thank you for having me. And I always like talking to guys.
Yeah, and we look forward to seeing you in person now that people are seeing people in person once again to some extent.
I know. Just got my third shot. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, me too. I'm
lining up for. I need to get my third one next week, or maybe even later this week if all goes well. Well, this is the vamping part, Jeff. We're just going to sort of try and think of things to say for another few minutes until they turn the lights off. You can either stay with us and bullshit, or you can go and make us bullshit without you. It's up to you.
Well, if I can just plug my gigs one more time, that would be great. If everybody comes to the Capitol in Portchester on November 12th and 13th, and everybody come to see the Zen Tricksters on Long Island October 22nd. I think that's a week from Friday, is it? At the Landmark on Main Street.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Great.
So come on down. We'll have a good time.
All right. Thank you, Jeff Mattson.
Thank you for having me. I'm really enjoyed the show too, and I'm looking forward to that second set. If that bird song was anything to give you an idea what's coming up. People should definitely tune in.
Any
Right,
further
man.
thoughts on Dead and Company before we send you away?
I just, really felt they had their own. They have their own vibe. It's very unique to them. Like I say, it's some beautiful, delicate playing. Not bombastic, and very psychedelic, very clean, and I think everybody's playing brilliantly, and John's doing a great job. He's a wonderful guitar player.
Yeah.
So true. Yeah. We concur.
He gets it. That's the thing.
Yeah.
He really gets it.
Yeah. He really does. I mean, the way he fell under the spell of this music is a wonderful story. We've had the opportunity to talk to him at some length a few times, and it's just incredible because he came from this whole other musical reality. Although he was steeped in blues, steeped in a lot of the music that the Grateful Dead loved, it wasn't the way people thought of him, and he's sort of been reinventing the way people think of him, throughout his career. And this is an amazing part of that process. So, I couldn't agree with you more that he gets it in a very big way, and a very profoundly personal way too. It means a lot to him.
Yeah, I can tell that from some of the statements I've seen. And you wouldn't have foreseen it. I don't think, before it happened.
Yeah.
You wouldn't say, I bet you one of these days John Mayer is going to come along and jump in there.
There's I think there's something about these songs and these stories, and I've had this experience. I've been playing a live show every day, and I've played more than 500 hours of live music since the pandemic started. And there's some songs I played like 50, 60, 75 times, and you cannot help but get deeper and deeper into those songs when you're telling those stories, and it doesn't surprise me in the slightest that they would change a guy, to go into music of the depth of what Robert Hunter and Jerry Garcia gave us can't help but change you,
Yeah. I mean, if you give it a chance and you're a musician, you should at least be able to understand what people like about it if it's not for you. I've experienced that with musicians over the years where, they were coming from a hardcore jazz thing and they were like, turn up their nose at the Dead, but then they play it with us for a while and I get it, okay.
It was interesting hearing Don Was told us all about how Dave McMurray got it. He came out and played a set with Don and people at the Hardly Strictly Bluegrass Festival out here, and he played Days Between with Don Was and this band, and that was his portal into Grateful Dead music. Was Don said, "You like that? Check out the rest of this shit right here." And then Dave McMurray wound up making this incredible album of saxophone interpretations.
Yeah,
so isn't it great?
Yeah, it really is. It's funny how I remember I got a chance to play with David Murray, the other David.
Yeah.
Without the Mick.
Yeah.
Back in the day at the Wetlands, and I remember he made a record of Grateful Dead, but I wasn't as happy with that. I didn't feel like it. I think this is more successful. It was great playing with them, though, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I think we played 6 songs in the first set. It was like 2.5 hours or something.
I was once on a stage at the old Sweetwater in Mill Valley. I once stood on a stage between Henry Kaiser and David Murray. Two veritable fire hydrants of sound. I thought this is what Bob Weir must have felt like when he was 17 years old trying to figure out what to do between Phil and Jerry. It was a deeply profound and intimidating moment in life.
Yeah, that's pretty much being, invited to take your first swim in the midst of a tsunami or something like that,
Figure eights on the inside of your head.
Yeah.
I live to tell about it.
My God. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, here's a good example of where Leaving Space probably wouldn't have been a problem finding space.
Hey,
I remember seeing you play with Henry Kaiser at the Knitting Factory.
Yes.
Gary was in the
88.
band too. Gary was
What's
in
that?
the band too. Gary was in
Yes,
the
I
band
was.
too. That was the one band gathers what another band spills show. We played only songs that weren't playing anymore.
Yes, right. And I think Elliot Sharp opened for you or something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
He was doing like
Yeah.
samples of Reagan speeches or something like that.
Right.
It was the old Knitting Factory, the little one.
Yeah.
On
Yeah,
House
Yeah.
the
Music.
little one.
I don't think I ever knew you were at that show, Jeff. That's great. That was
Yeah, me
that was
neither.
a peak. That was a peak experience for me because I was a huge fan of the Knitting Factory, and just thought it was an incredible boon to New York that a club like that existed, a laboratory for music like that, and to go onto that stage and to play that particular music was just a dream come true for me. So that's one I'll always remember.
I remember seeing Sun Ra there, and then the band took up like half the room. I don't even know how they had enough money to pay them because they took up. It's such a small. I think Sun Ra might have been on the stage, and the rest of them were out in front of them.
Yeah, probably.
Those were great days.
Yes.
Those were the days. Indeed.
Yeah, well, almost. Wait a minute. Lights. It's time. Jeff, thank you.
boy.
Thank you, guys.
Enjoy the
It's
second
been
set,
great to
everybody.
see you.